The US-Iran peace talks failed.
We've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement.
No deal was reached. But here is what I want you to understand. This war is not ending anytime soon. Think about Afghanistan. When the US achieved its military objective within the first year, they ended up staying for the next 20 years. That is just how these things go. And the reality of the situation is that when the US goes in, it does not leave quickly. So if you're sitting at home thinking that petrol prices will come back down in a few weeks, that is not how this will play out. The real question is not what happens next week. The real question is what happens to your money over the next 6 to 12 months. And the answer to that question goes much deeper than petrol. However, before we get into it, if you find my videos useful, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. Everyone is talking about oil. That part is obvious. However, petrol at 458 rupees, diesel at 520 rupees, a 40% jump in a single month. But oil is just the beginning of the chain reaction. What most people are not talking about is fertilizer. And for Pakistan, this is arguably more dangerous than the fuel crisis itself. The Strait of Hormuz does not just carry oil. About 1/3 of all globally traded fertilizer passes through this strait. The Gulf region is one of the world's largest producers of urea and ammonia, the nitrogen fertilizers that every crop needs to grow. And almost all of that supply is now disrupted. And here is where it gets very direct for us. Pakistan is one of the countries that not only imports fertilizers from the Gulf, but also uses Qatari LNG as a feedstock to produce fertilizers domestically. With LNG supplies cut off, some fertilizer plants in Pakistan have had to stop production entirely. The Pakistani government has already called emergency meetings to review fertilizer stocks and warned of supply pressures going into the upcoming Kharif season. Now let me walk you through this chain, because this is what affects your grocery bill months from now, not weeks, months. Pakistan's Kharif season, that is when we plant rice, cotton, and maize, begins around June. Higher fertilizer costs and reduced availability means farmers will either apply less fertilizers or skip it entirely. That directly reduces crop yields. Officials have also warned that weaker purchasing power could limit farmers' ability to apply optimal quantities, making the yield problem even worse. Lower yields mean less supply in the market. Less supply with the same number of hungry people means higher prices. And this price shock does not show up at your local Kiryana store tomorrow. It shows up at harvest time, which is going to happen later this year and into 2027. As one analyst in Islamabad put it, diesel is the backbone of Pakistan's freight and agricultural economy. Trucking costs have started climbing, and that will lead into everything from flour to fertilizer. By the time wheat harvest comes around, that squeeze will be fully visible at the atta ki chakki. Now layer that on top of this remittance problem. Millions of Pakistani workers in Gulf countries send money home. It is one of our most important income streams. But reports now indicate that hundreds of thousands of Pakistani workers may not be able to go abroad this year or could return home earlier than planned. If remittance inflows drop, the rupee weakens further. A weaker rupee makes every import, including oil, LNG, fertilizer, and machinery, even more expensive in local terms. And that feeds directly back into inflation. Energy economists have already said that for Pakistan, the real macroeconomic trigger is not oil prices alone. It is currency depreciation, which amplifies the impact of every rupee increase in oil on domestic inflation. So what does the State Bank of Pakistan do in this situation? It cannot cut interest rates to provide relief. That would weaken the rupee further and make inflation worse. Economists at Capital Economics have said that Pakistan's central bank will likely have to raise interest rates and not cut them, precisely because inflation means high and rising energy prices threaten to push it even higher. That means more expensive loans, more expensive credit, and more pressure on businesses already operating on thin margins, especially textiles and manufacturing, which are the backbone of our exports. This is what stagflation looks like up close. Prices going up, growth slowing down, and the government with very few tools left to respond. So then the question becomes, what do you do? The honest answer is that you protect what you already have. In every major inflationary crisis in modern history, including the 1970s oil shock, the post-2008 money printing era, the people who preserved their wealth were the ones in real asset, not savings accounts where the purchasing power quietly erodes month by month. Gold is the oldest and most tested hedge against exactly this kind of environment: currency weakness, inflation, and geopolitical uncertainty all at the same time. Gold priced in rupees has already moved sharply since this conflict began, because the market understands what prolonged wars, money printing, and a weakening rupee do to paper money. The idea is simple. You're not trying to get rich quick. You're trying to make sure that what you have worked for is still worth something a year from now. This war is not ending anytime soon, and is certainly not ending next week, and you should plan accordingly. And finally, if this video gave you something to think about, share my video. Most people around you are still treating this as a news story that will blow over, and I'm telling you right now, it will not. So kindly like the video, subscribe to my channel, and follow us on Facebook. The link is in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.